how to sound more confident in English meetings, even when you're not. I want to tell you about two people. They both work for the same company. They're both in the same meeting. They both know the topic inside out. They've been working on this project for months. One of them speaks up confidently. They agree with some points, push back on others. They add ideas and ask questions. When they leave the room, people know what they think. The other one listens. They have much to say, but somehow the words don't come out. They leave the meeting replaying everything that happened over and over in their head. What's the difference between them? It's not knowledge, it's not intelligence, it's not even, and this is the important part, it's not even their level of English. The difference is that one of them has a set of phrases that they use regularly, a set of conversational tools that are ready when they need them. The other one doesn't. Today, I'm going to give you those tools, 4 conversational moves, concrete phrases, things that you can use in your next meeting. I'm Mike Fox, a professional English coach and a careers counsellor, and I've studied in psychology. I've spent thousands of hours working one-to-one with professional people from all over the world. And the question I hear more than any other one is, Mike, how do I sound more confident in meetings? So today, that's exactly what we're going to cover. Before I give you the phrases, I just want to spend a moment thinking about why meetings are so important and why they can be so difficult. And it's specifically harder in a second language because it's not what most people think. It's not vocabulary, it's not grammar. And I think you'll see a theme in all of my videos where I'm telling you it's not vocabulary, it's not grammar. In meetings, it's something that linguists call pragmatic competence, the social and conversational rules that dictate how a language is used in certain situations. Things like, when do I speak? How do I disagree without causing offence? How do I interrupt without being rude? How do I add something to someone's point without just repeating what they've said? Research has found that these skills are not really covered in formal English teaching. Textbooks cover grammar, they cover vocabulary. They almost never teach you how to disagree diplomatically in a business meeting, or how to cut into a conversation politely without being rude. If you find meetings hard, if you find that you go quiet when you want to speak up, it's very likely it's not because your English is not good enough. It's because no one taught you the specific moves. Until now, there are 4 moves, so let's go through them. Move 1 is agreeing with impact. Now, I know what you're thinking. Agreeing is easy. You just say yes. But here's the thing. There's a world of difference between passive agreement, nodding, saying yes, staying quiet, and active agreement, which actually builds on your presence in that room. When you agree actively and well, you do 3 things simultaneously. You show you've been listening, you validate the other person, which people always appreciate, and you position yourself as a contributor, not just an observer. And you can do all of this with just 1 or 2 sentences. Here are the phrases that I want you to practice. That's a really strong point, and I want to connect that to, I completely agree. And I'd add, you've hit on something important there. And in my experience, that aligns with what I've been seeing as well. In particular, notice what all of these phrases do. They don't just say I agree. They extend the conversation. They add something extra. That's the move. Agree and add something. That's 2 steps every time. Agree and add something. Try it this week. The next time someone makes a point that you genuinely agree with, don't just nod. Use one of those phrases, add something. Watch what happens when people respond to you. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Move 2, disagreeing without damaging relationships. And this is one that people find particularly hard. Disagreeing in a second language, in a professional setting, with someone who might be more senior than you, that is genuinely difficult. And I understand why people want to avoid it. But here's what happens when you never disagree. You become invisible. Your real perspective, and it could be an important one, never reaches the room. And over time, people will stop expecting you to contribute because you've trained them not to. Disagreeing is not optional if you want to be taken seriously professionally. The key, and this comes from research in linguistics and cross-cultural communication, is a concept called hedging. Hedges are phrases that are used to soften a statement. They allow you to introduce a different perspective without it feeling like a confrontation. Phrases like, I wonder whether, or I'd look at it slightly differently. These aren't weak phrases. They're sophisticated. They disagree while keeping the relationship intact. and native English speakers use them constantly, especially in professional environments. The principle is simple: acknowledge first, differ second. Always in that order. Acknowledge first, differ second. Here are the phrases to help you. I can see where you're coming from. I wonder though whether that's a fair point. I'd look at it slightly differently. In my experience, I take your point and I want to offer a different perspective. I'm not sure I entirely agree with you. Could I offer another view? That's interesting. I'd actually push back on that slightly because I want to draw your attention to the phrase, I'd push back on that slightly. I love this phrase. It's direct enough that everyone in the room knows you're disagreeing, but the word slightly takes the edge off. It signals that you're being collaborative, not combative. Practice saying it. I'd push back on that slightly. Out loud, right now, along with me. I'd push back on that slightly. Notice how it feels. A little uncomfortable at first, probably. That discomfort is normal. It means you're doing something new. Move free, adding to a point. This one is underrated, and it's actually the most accessible move for anyone who finds meetings nerve-wracking, because you're not introducing something entirely new. You're building on something that's already in the conversation. Someone says something, you have a thought that's connected to it. You add that thought. That's it. The reason that this is so powerful is that it demonstrates something really important. You're listening. You're engaged. You're not just waiting your turn to speak. You're actually tracking what's being said and responding to it. Here are your phrases. Building on what Mike just said, and you can put any name in there, preferably the person who's just said something. Building on what Mike just said. I'd like to add something to that point. That reminds me of something relevant here. To extend that idea a little further, I think there's another dimension worth considering. Could I add to that? I think it's worth noting, building on what Mike just said, or the name of the person you've just spoken to, is a personal favourite of mine, and for a good reason. It names another person in the room. That person feels acknowledged, and the whole room sees you listening carefully and affirming other people in the room. It's great and really powerful. That one phrase does more for your presence in the room than almost anything else you could say. Move 4. Interrupting lightly. This is the one that I know makes some of you uncomfortable just thinking about it. Interrupting. Now, I want to be really careful here, because I know for many of you, interrupting someone whilst they're speaking is fundamentally wrong. In many cultures, it is. It signals disrespect, disregard for another person, and a failure in basic manners. And I want to acknowledge that those cultural values are real, and it's really important to use this one correctly. It's important to remember that in most English-speaking professional environments, the rules around turn-taking are different. Meetings are not sequential. People don't wait in silence for each other to finish. Conversations overlap, points are developed collaboratively. The expectation is that you will jump in. Research on cross-cultural communication found that the pause length, the amount of silence between speakers that signals "I'm finished, it's your turn," varies significantly between cultures. If you're waiting for the natural pause that you're comfortable with your home culture, you may be waiting for the entire meeting. The solution is a polite entry signal, a brief phrase that says, "I have something to add, and I'm aware that I'm cutting in to say it." So, here are your phrases. Could I just come in here for a moment? Can I add something quickly before we move on? I'd like to pick up on that point if I might. Before we move on, could I just add? I don't want to interrupt, but I think it's worth noting that. The last one is a little paradoxical. I don't want to interrupt whilst you are literally interrupting. It's very common in English to say this, and it works. It signals awareness and consideration. And in most professional settings, that signal is enough. I want to close with something that I think is more important than the individual phrases I've given you today. Deborah Tannen, a linguist at Georgetown University, who has spent decades studying how people communicate in the workplace. She found something remarkable. She found that people with comparable levels of confidence can express themselves in completely different ways, and that you cannot genuinely tell from someone's language alone whether they are actually confident or not. I'll say that again. You cannot tell. What this means is that confidence and language are not in the relationship that most people believe they are. Most people think, I will feel more confident and then I will start speaking up. It works the other way around. You use the languages, you use the phrases, you have the experience of being heard, of your point landing, of people nodding in agreement and building on what you said. And that experience builds confidence. Doing builds confidence. The language is not a reward to becoming confident. It is a path to becoming confident. That is what I see in my coaching work over and over again. Students come to me unable to contribute in meetings. They leave with concrete tools. They use the tools, their colleagues respond differently, and that response, being taken seriously, being heard, is what builds real confidence over time. You don't have to feel it at first. You have to use the phrases. So, 4 moves. Let me bring them together for you. Agreeing with impact. Don't just say yes, agree and add. Extend the conversation. Disagreeing without damaging the relationship. Acknowledge first, differ second. Use hedges. I'd push back on that slightly, adding to the point. Build on what others have said. Name them. Show that you're listening. Interrupting politely. Don't wait for the silence that may never come. Use a polite entry signal and take your turn. Here's your homework if you choose to accept it. Choose one phrase from each of the 4 categories. Write them down before your next meeting and use them in the meeting. One small experience of using a phrase, of it landing well, that's what you need. In my next video, I'm going to explore something that connects directly with what we've done today. Why your English is almost certainly better than you think, and why the gap between your actual ability and your perceived ability is costing you professionally. Subscribe so you don't miss out, and hit the like button. And if today's lesson resonated with you and you would like to work with me one-to-one, book a session. Your specific challenges, your specific goals, your specific workplace. I offer a completely free 30-minute discovery call. No pressure, no obligation, just an honest conversation. The link is in the description. I'm Mike Fox, and thank you for watching. I will see you at the next one.